Hello and welcome. You're watching COVID 360. I'm Sneha Mordani. On the show today, Covaxin will not be used in the US as US FDA has denied approval to India's indigenous vaccine. But this really doesn't mean a setback for Covaxin. We'll tell you about that. Also on the show, we talk about why private hospitals are not happy about new prices set by the government for vaccines. Half a dozen vaccines are in the pipeline in India apart from Covaxin and Covishield. So you can expect much more when it comes to more doses of the vaccine. We're telling you about that as well. But first up, the United States has decided not to give emergency use authorization to Bharat Biotech's COVID-19 vaccine, Covaxin. What does this really mean for Covaxin's global acceptability? Does it really mean anything at all? Is this a setback? What does it mean for those who have taken Covaxin? Here's more. Covaxin, India's first indigenous COVID-19 vaccine, will not be used in the US, at least for now. The immediate reason? Covaxin has not been granted emergency use authorization sought in the US by American pharmaceutical company Ocugen on behalf of Bharat Biotech. So if you are a recipient of Covaxin, do not panic. The rejection isn't a reason for alarm. The US Food and Drug Administration says they do not have enough data just yet to grant emergency use authorization and that the company should pursue a full license, a process that's going to take time and involve additional clinical trials. The hitch, therefore, is purely procedural. The makers of Covaxin, one of India's largest exporters of vaccine, are certain this is not a setback. Bharat Biotech says the US FDA had earlier communicated that no emergency use authorization would be approved for new COVID-19 vaccines. Our US partner, Ocugen, has received a recommendation from the FDA to pursue Biologics License Applications or BLA path for Covaxin, which is full approval.
हर देश का रेगुलेटरी सिस्टम अपना अपना कुछ चीज़ें कॉमन हो सकती हैं बाकियों के साथ, कुछ अलग हो सकता है, उनकी अपनी पैरामीटर्स हैं, हम उसकी इज्जत करते हैं.
The hurdle, though, comes weeks after Covaxin was praised by US's top pandemic expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
We have the troublesome India 617. Next slide. People who received the vaccine used in India, the Covaxin, and it was found to neutralize the 617 variant. So despite the real difficulty that we're seeing in India, vaccination could be a very, very important antidote against this.
Consider the following. The US has never issued emergency use authorization to an Indian vaccine ever. This for a vaccine that has received authorization from 14 countries with more than 50 countries in the process. The powerful world of pharma and the enormous profits to be made also mean that the US pharma giants call the shots on which candidates are permitted entry into their territories. All this adds to other challenges ahead for Covaxin. Covaxin is still working towards pre-qualification from the World Health Organization needed for global acceptability and to be part of the COVAX initiative, especially in an age of vaccine passports.
अली कोविशील्ड मेंशन किया तो हो सकता है कुछ भ्रांति ये आ गई हो कि कोवैक्सीन का क्या होगा. वी आर ऑल एंगेज विद WHO तो समझने के लिए उनके गाइडेंस में टेक्निकल सपोर्ट के लिए कि क्या वैक्सीन की बेस्ड ऑन एलिजिबल अवेलेबल एविडेंस वो इसको वैक्सीन पासपोर्ट के कॉन्सेप्ट को स्टेबलाइज करके इशू करना चाहिए.
Bharat Biotech has said that no vaccine ever developed in India has gotten approval in the US, but they hope that Covaxin gets this sort of an approval. Whatever the case may be, it's clear that the roads for Covaxin will only open up and there will be more takers for this vaccine once the phase 3 efficacy data is out. The government of India says that is expected in a week's time. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today. Hospital operators are saying the government's new vaccine procurement policy must be reviewed because high vaccine prices set for the private sector and a cap on service charge is going to make it unviable for them. This first drive-through vaccination center in Delhi was inaugurated to vaccinate Delhi's population. But after the union government capped vaccine prices in private hospitals, this drive-through center is being shut down by the hospital.
जो नई प्राइस कैपिंग आई है उसके कारण ये हमारे लिए थोड़ा अनवायबल हो गया है, जबकि पिछले 15 दिन से हमने इसको लगातार चलाया और हम इसको और भी चलाना चाहते थे, लेकिन अभी फिलहाल इसको हमें इसको बंद करना पड़ेगा।
Fortis Healthcare has also issued a similar statement seeking a review of the government's new policy on price cap for private facilities. It said, and I quote, "We would urge the vaccine prices for private sector be reviewed. Unfortunately, the cap of service charge at 150 rupees will not cover additional costs incurred for off-site vaccination camps. We urge the government to consider a higher charge for off-site camps to enable expanded coverage." The government has capped the prices of Serum Institute of India's Covishield at private COVID vaccination centers at 780 rupees per dose. It capped the prices of Bharat Biotech's Covaxin at 1,410 rupees per dose and Russia's Sputnik V at 1,145 rupees per dose. It's also said that private hospitals cannot charge more than 150 rupees for administering a dose. Healthcare industry bodies say the centre should procure all the vaccines.
We urge Prime Minister to procure 100% vaccine from the manufacturers and provide 50% vaccines to the private sector. AHPI, for example, have 11,000 hospitals, many of which are located in tier 3 towns. They will be able to provide vaccines to the people and overcome the hesitancy.
This would help even small private hospitals to procure doses to vaccinate in small towns as well as rural India.
The central government has made it very much clear that 75% of the COVID-19 vaccine will be made available to the government sector and rest 25% will be made available to the private hospitals. Yet the government has made it clear, but there is no official channel from where the smaller hospitals can procure the COVID-19 vaccine.
Healthcare body sources have said that it seems private hospital concerns have been completely ignored in the new policy. And the Union Health Ministry has told states that strict action needs to be taken against those that are overcharging for vaccines. While we have conveniently forgotten, for several weeks, it was the private hospitals that were procuring higher doses from the central government to vaccinate at least those who could afford to get inoculated in the country, while states miserably failed to procure these doses. In New Delhi with Sneha Mordani, this is Milan Sharma for India Today.
Covishield, Covaxin and now Sputnik V. Everyone is talking about them, but delve deeper and you will find that half a dozen vaccines are in the pipeline in India. Here's more. 2 vaccines have been rolled out, Covaxin and Covishield. But by the end of this year and early next year, India will have half a dozen vaccines against COVID-19. The advantage? Reduced prices and reduction in the gap between demand and supply. Serum Institute of India is making Covishield, AstraZeneca's vaccine. But did you know that Covaxin is another vaccine that Serum is making? Right now, the phase 2-3 bridging studies of this vaccine is on in India. US biotechnology company Novavax's protein-based COVID-19 vaccine is being locally manufactured and the production has begun. After Novavax gets approvals abroad with efficacy trials, it is expected that Serum would too move in for the same. The rollout time of Covaxin is 2 to 3 months. Doses to be manufactured is expected to be to the tune of 20 crore by December. Genova Biopharmaceuticals, another company, is working on India's first mRNA COVID-19 vaccine. It is in the middle of the phase 1 trials of this vaccine. It's called AGC019 and it covers 120 volunteers in the trials. Genova has been granted 250 crores by the government to develop India's first mRNA vaccine. The rollout time of India's first mRNA vaccine is early next year. Bharat Biotech's nasal vaccine, developed by the same company that has made Covaxin, could be a game changer. The vaccine candidate is currently under phase 1 trials. The rollout time of this vaccine is end of this year. 10 crore doses will be procured by the centre. Zydus Cadila in Gujarat is making an intradermal vaccine, Zycov-D. It is based on the DNA platform and the company is expected to provide 5 crore doses by year-end. The rollout time of the vaccine is expected in a month's time. The company is set to apply for emergency use authorization. Zydus Cadila also says that their vaccine is being tested on children.
We are finished majority of the recruitment. The recruitment holds very important milestones in terms of cohorts because we have obviously the elderly and the comorbid people, but also children between the ages of 12 to 18. So once we are able to get an event data, which we hope which will happen in the middle of May, we should then immediately be able to apply for emergency use.
Biological E's Corbevax is undergoing phase 3 trials. The government of India has said it would make an advance payment of 1,500 crores to Hyderabad-based Biological E to reserve 30 crore doses. The rollout time is August. At least 7.5 crore doses will be made available by September. 30 crore doses of Corbevax will be made available by the end of this year. 6 Indian companies will now make Russia's Sputnik V.
The current price that has been announced is for the imported vaccine. We have the India manufactured vaccine available. The prices will be different. So I believe that in a steady state over the next 4 to 5 months, we will have 6 manufacturers making Sputnik in India. And on a steady state, we should be able to produce about 20 to 25 million per month.
Indian companies are also looking at using India's manufacturing capabilities to ramp up production of foreign-made vaccines via tech transfer. India prides itself in being the pharmacy to the world. Right now, it appears that for this year, the plans are right on track to augment India's supply to boost up production for the much-needed vaccines against COVID-19. But a lot is going to depend and have an impact on India's plans. New variants, mutating variants, for example, and also new challenges like infections in children. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today. While vaccine wastage is as high as 37% in few states, smaller states like Himachal Pradesh are setting examples. The state has reported less than zero vaccine wastage. Milan Sharma gets you this ground report.
What you are seeing is a vaccination drive for those above the age of 18 at Shimla's biggest hospital. The motto of this vaccination center is, "One dose is equal to one life." Every dose is precious here. The hospital ensures that not a single drop of the vaccine is wasted.
People are very helpful and they understand everything. They understand the importance of a single dose. So they also cooperate with us. One single vial is allowed to work only for 4 hours. That's the shelf life. Then we have a seasoned team of vaccinators, all very old and professional health educators and health workers.
The Shimla hospital is an example of Himachal Pradesh's good track record when it comes to vaccine usage. Himachal has shown a wastage of -2% in doses supplied by the centre and -1% in shots procured by the state.
We are republishing the sessions on this day of vaccination. So उससे क्या हो रहा है कि जो vicinity में लोग हैं 8 या 10 लोग जो अपना जिनको वो sessions visible हैं वो book करा के vaccine लेने आ रहे हैं. जो help desk भी create किए थे हर पंचायत के अंदर ताकि जो लोग eligible हैं वो आगे आए उनकी registration की जाए और उनके लिए एक special जो session है उसको create किया जाए ताकि वहाँ पे भी जो हमारी जो vaccine पहुँच रही है वो optimally utilize हो सके.
In May, the mountain state had started the vaccination drive for 18-plus citizens. But as talks finished, the drive had to be halted.
जो 5 दिन का सेशन है उसमें हम 541 लोगों को वैक्सीनेट कर चुके हैं अगेंस्ट दी 48 वाइल्स वी हैव यूज्ड, तो हमारा कोई 11.27 का परसेंटेज उसका रहा है.
To prepare for a possible third wave, Himachal has begun prioritizing vaccines for public school teachers and lactating mothers in the 18+ age group.
I tried to log in through the CoWIN app, so the app was already booked whenever I opened it. So now the school has facilitated the vaccination. Children are suffering a lot, and if the teachers they get vaccinated, schools maybe can be opened.
Vaccinations for the entire 18+ category will begin again from June 14. With its track record of using every dose with care, Himachal could well be on the way to vaccinating everyone in the state in the shortest time.
Fewer vaccines are also being managed. Doses that have been distributed in the states are also being managed. The central government has repeatedly said that Himachal is one of those states that has been the state that to minimize the vaccine wastage, which is extremely important, because even a single dose of vaccine should not be wasted, and that should be the motto of most centers in the country as well. With Prem Chandra Mishra in Shimla, Himachal Pradesh, this is Milan Sharma for India Today.
Well, the Delta variant, which was first detected, sequenced in India, is now spreading at an alarming rate. It causes illnesses, the symptoms of which are being seen as new and rather unexpected. I explain. The dreaded Delta variant, first detected in India, is now a global worry with alarming spread, forcing the World Health Organization to tag it among 4 global variants of concern last month. New variant, new symptoms. Not so common symptoms such as hearing loss, severe stomach upsets and blood clots leading to gangrene are being reported among COVID-19 patients infected by the Delta variant. Worsening blood clots. Doctors and researchers believe that increase in hospitalization was also because of the blood clots triggered in the chest by this variant, even if affected patients had no clot-related problems previously. Doctors have also detected instances of clots in blood vessels that supply the intestines, causing stomach pain. What about greater risk to children? The alarming rate at which the Delta variant is infecting children has also left medical professionals worried. During India's second wave, doctors say they were witnessing more cases of household transmission instead of individual transmission than last year. Delta variant versus other variants. The World Health Organization has said the Delta variant was more dominant than the Alpha variant, which was detected in the United Kingdom last year. The Delta variant reported in over 60 countries now and is the leading cause of COVID hospitalizations in the UK, for example. Some experts suspect that COVID-19 vaccines too have reduced effectiveness against this variant, resulting in higher risks. The government is preparing for the third wave of the pandemic given the uncertainty. What should be the way forward? I spoke to experts to find out what the right approach must be. Take a look. Tail end of the second wave and expectations of a third. Be prepared for the worst is the message. But what should be the focus areas? Focus area number 1 is vaccination for all. Vaccinating India's 94 crore citizens. Boosting supply and equitable distribution of doses needs to be top priority now.
We should be vaccinating more than 9 to 10 million per day in terms of vaccination coverage, especially by focusing on those vulnerable people who are unable to register on their own, and also by doing social mobilization strategy where the concerns of people are addressed regarding vaccines.
Focus number 2, vaccination for children, and ensuring that rural India is not left behind is absolutely essential, as they are now susceptible to the third wave.
Aim to cover 60 to 70% of the population by the year end. Import mRNA vaccines and complete Covaxin trials on 2 to 18-year-olds so that we can vaccinate children too. The third wave is likely to hit the unvaccinated rural population and children. So that's where we need to focus.
Focus area number 3, rural healthcare preparedness. Work on improving primary healthcare and beating vaccine hesitancy in rural India should be the third focus area.
We do not have enough number of hospitals, and the existing infrastructure is acutely understaffed. Government data, which is updated till March 2020, clearly shows that the country needs at least 38% more community health centers, which is the first level of health infrastructure where rural people get access to specialist doctors and allied staff like radiographers. If we talk about primary health centers, the country needs at least 29% more primary health centers.
Focus area number 4, aggressive containment. Identify clusters quickly and ensure better genome sequencing.
This is backed by testing levels and syndromic approach. By doing enhanced testing and also following syndromic approach, we need to identify the clusters of cases as early as possible. Once the clusters are identified, we should also be doing genomic sequencing to find whether there are any newer variants of concern. By doing this, we should limit the spread and also prevent from larger outbreaks. This is aggressive containment.
Focus area number 5, building healthcare infrastructure in urban centers like Delhi, where the system collapsed completely. Focus on procuring medical devices and oxygen and keeping essential medical equipment stocks like ventilators and essential medicines ready.
A number of states are setting up hospitals in stadiums and other places, all in run-up to prepare for third wave. I don't think that's the right approach. What should be done? They should recruit more human resources, make the existing health facilities functional, increase allocation for government healthcare facilities, ensure supply and availability of more medicines. So it's not about setting up facilities, but it's more about making existing ones functional.
Experts say the focus area number 6 should be on data and information, which is handy with the government right now. Well, this virus has the potential to spring some very unpleasant surprises like mutating variants, for example. But the good thing is that there is a lot that we know about SARS-CoV-2 than we knew earlier in the first wave or the second wave, for example. There is a lot of information that we have. The enemy isn't exactly unknown. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today. Well, that's all we could pack in this edition of COVID 360. Until next time, stay safe, be well.